I wanted to talk tonight about the simplest thing. So, the thing that couldn't be simpler. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's simple. Right? It's actually difficult because it's simple. The mind doesn't like simple. Mind gets bored with simple. Mind likes complicated, likes drama, likes conflict, likes sophisticated concepts. It likes the mind likes the idea of going from here to there, like somehow something is missing here that I will find at some point in the future, and my job is to get from here to there, otherwise called the spiritual journey, right? The only reason it's called a journey is because I'm not there yet, but I'm going in the right direction, and one day, with enough effort and enough grace, I will arrive. So this is complicated, right? Because it assumes that we know where we're going, where this goal is that we might call, I don't know, heaven, peace, enlightenment, awakening, nirvana, whatever word we like. And we can't know what that is without having a direct experience of it. We may have read about it, we may have concepts about it, we may have even glimpsed it from time to time, but holding it as a conceptual idea of what it will look like is a denial of what is present now. Right? If I'm going from here to there, my first assumption has to be that I'm lacking something now, right? And I have to go in search of it. And the problem with that is that we've all been taught through school and from an early age that there's a lot of information out there, and my job is to, like a golden retriever, to go out and search and retrieve and bring it back home and incorporate it into what I know. But somehow the answer's out there, maybe in a cave in the Himalayas or some secret scripture or the next teacher. But somehow the information is available, it's just not here. And it's something I have to find, maybe in the next book, maybe in the next Zoom video, whatever, right? But the assumption is that it's not here now. That's the basic assumption, right? The only problem is that our entire life is lived here and now, in this present moment. We may be thinking about next week or 20 years ago, but when we're thinking about that, it's always in the present moment. So we've never, for an instant, managed to be anywhere other than here and now. And so when we have this idea that awakening will happen at some future point, there and then, we're denying the possibility of it being present here and now. Make sense? Okay, so just the very assumption that something, that we have to go somewhere or achieve something or learn something or become worthy of something or to gain enough merit or to be the recipient of grace. But all of that will happen in the future, is itself a denial of what may be present here and now. which is always here and now. So if we're always denying that it's present here and now and always looking for it somewhere else, what are the probabilities of finding it? And often the way it is discovered is when we become totally exhausted or frustrated or disillusioned by seeking it somewhere other than here, right? Looking everywhere, turning over every rock, exploring every path, every tradition, every technique, hoping to find it. And I'm not saying that's not worthwhile doing. It, it if if that's what's happening, then that's what's necessary. But I'm just holding out the suggestion that all the while, what we're seeking is already present in all of us. Right? We miss it because it's so close. We don't miss it because it's obscure or complicated or beyond our mental abilities, or we weren't born under the right star. We don't miss it for any of those reasons. We miss it because it's so close and so in our face, obvious, right? So the practice that we did at the beginning, where we just allowed everything to be and notice that, yes, thoughts may arise, feelings may be present, memories may happen, beliefs may arise. Sort of how life is, right? And we have a front row seat to all of it. And that front row seat can be called presence, or simply the capacity to notice. We could call it awareness. If we wanted to be more spiritual, we could call it spirit, right? The formless. All different words for the same thing. That capacity that we all have to be present for whatever arises. But what most spiritual people do is try to manipulate what arises. Having the right experience, having the, positive feeling all the time, waiting for that big cosmic explosion that we've heard about and we want. But what's present for all those thoughts and feelings and hopes and regrets, what's present for all of it is already present for all of it. So this, what we seek as spiritual seekers is already present. What is sought is already present. It's actually what's doing the seeking, right? We think, no, it's me. Me as a separate person, that's seeking. I mean, that's what we can believe about it. But that movement, that sort of devotion to finding out what's really true, that comes from a deeper place. That doesn't come from personal will. Because there'll come a time when personal will isn't enough. It can feel like personal will for a while, like, okay, I've got to just buckle down and meditate today. Right? It can feel like that. but there's something deeper, some deep yearning that comes from a place that's not personal. It comes from life seeking to know itself through your form, looking at creation through your eyes. So when I say it's the easiest thing, it's the easiest thing because it's already happening. It's not like it's distant and somehow we have to attain it. We have to achieve it in some way. We have to sort of cobble it together, whether by having the right experiences or the right, metaphysical concepts or the right philosophies or the right life situation. All of those things may fall into alignment every once in a while. That's nice. and then and then they may fall out of alignment. And, you know, that's how life is. I think sometimes there's a sense of, when life isn't going quite like we want it to, or the world situation isn't what we think it should be. I think sometimes there's a sense of, well, it shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to suffer this way. I shouldn't have to endure what I am enduring at this moment. Life should be more pleasant than what I'm experiencing in this moment. Right? Says who? Right? That's what we'd like. Yes, sure. But who said it should be that way? I mean, the obvious thing is that it's not. Sometimes it's beautiful and sometimes it's not. It's not. This shouldn't be news to anyone, right? Sometimes life is difficult. Sometimes it's wonderful, and it's generally in flux all the time, always changing. But when everything's going our way, we think, well, now this is how life should be, and when everything seems to be not going our way, it's like, when will this ever end? This shouldn't be happening. What did I do wrong? I mean, this is what, Buddha talked about, first noble truth. Life is unsatisfactory. It's not always unsatisfactory, but sometimes it is. And life isn't, it's just the way life is, right? But when we hold the belief that it should somehow be different, it should somehow cater to what I want, then we hold sort of an oppositional view to life. We're trying to manipulate life or manage life to be how I want it to be. But this conflict, really, this resistance to however life is showing up in the moment, whether it's a thought or a feeling or a memory or a physical situation, however it's showing up, our resistance to how it's showing up is how ego is created. No resistance, no ego. When we allow life just to unfold as it does, and when it's beautiful, wonderful, enjoy it, no problem, right? When it's difficult, we have the opportunity to remain in alignment with life and deal with the challenges as they arise. Sure, we'd prefer this, of course, as a form, of course we would. But the deeper question is, are we willing to live life on life's terms? Right? That's different than always being, always being the one to judge whether life is showing up correctly or not. And correctly according to who? Me. So this kind of resistance towards life is what creates the sense of separation from life. Me as a separate form, having to protect myself, having to try to gain as much pleasure as possible and as little pain as possible. This isn't to say that we don't, make wise decisions. I mean, we can do that, but as we may have noticed about life is that we can make the wisest of all decisions based on what we know at the time, and sometimes life doesn't cooperate. Right? So what our responsibility is to do the best we can in the moment. This sounds a little mundane, but it happens to be true. We can do the best we can in the moment, and then the outcome will be the outcome, right? We don't have complete control about that. What we do have the choice about is how we react to whatever the outcome is. That we do have a choice about. And if we're not in resistance to that, life goes more smoothly. Doesn't mean that it's easy necessarily, but it goes more smoothly. So when we're talking about the simplest thing, that's the challenge, is to keep this investigation into our own essential beingness as simple as it possibly can be, right? We can get lost in all kinds of concepts, all kinds of beliefs, other worlds, other levels of being, the necessity for certain kinds of practices or what this experience means, or etc. There's a lot to get lost in there. And the challenge is just to keep it as simple as possible. And the simplest practice is just to remain with this sense of simple beingness without trying to make it anything other than that, without trying to use it to get from here to there, without, we can just drop our ideas and hopes and exclamations and demands about, if or when we're going to get enlightened, and just be with a sense of presence. It doesn't need to be whatever may be arising. It doesn't have to be exciting. Sometimes exciting is confusing. Better just remain with a sense of, in this moment, there's a presence, period. Just a sense of I am, I exist, a sense of being present for whatever may be arising. And just stay with that. And again, the mind doesn't like that. The mind likes to say, okay, I got it. Tell me the next step. I've got step 101. I need step 1099. Just stay with some. That in itself is a sufficient practice. If that was your only practice, it would be sufficient. and just to stay with that one simple thing. And what the mind does, and you can notice this, the mind gets restless. You know, the mind will say, well, what about this? The mind will doubt. The mind will argue. The mind will get sleepy. These are all ways that the thinking mind objects to the simplicity of this practice of just staying with what's already present, just as is, without any demands, without any even hopes, without any concepts. You know, just set aside all the things we've heard about how awakening should look, and just be with this sense of presence.